Liquid fuels down through?
Yeah.
Liquid fuels is pretty straightforward, it is what it is. We're estimating, well, we did get notice that, we got $270,000, we got $269,000 last year in 2019. So for this year, we're 262. I don't know, with the way the state's processing things, we may not see the rest of that until May of next year.
They've been pretty good about that.
They have been pretty decent, but there's certain things at the state level that's just not processing at normal speeds.
We did this year move street lighting into the liquid fuels budget from the general fund. That's the only real change. And that was done because we don't have the contracted salaries or insurance figures. We wanted to create more capacity in the general fund, assuming that council was trying to have a balanced budget with no tax increase in view of the fact that we're raising refuse rates and the authority has added the stormwater fee. We didn't feel as though you would be looking to want to increase taxes in 2021. Street lighting is an allowable expense under liquid fuels, and we used to budget for it here, so moving it allows a little bit more flexibility in the general fund.
Sure. That's why the reduction in revenue, you think?
Because the state reduced liquid fuels funding.
That's all it is. How many miles do we have in the borough of state funds, those state roads?
State roads, 6.7, something like that.
I thought this is calculated on.
Yeah.
6.5.
Yeah.
6.7 miles of state roads.
Yeah.
I like the idea of moving the lighting over, Linda, that's great.
We're assuming that you wanted to try to hold the line on taxes moving into this year.
And I'll be honest, with the arbitration hanging over us, not knowing what they're gonna come out with, that's just making a whole, your budget's your best guess to begin with. This one, with COVID and the arbitration in the same year, this one's more of a best guess than anything else.
I did reduce salt because they're calling for less severe winter again this year. So we only spent $13,000 so far year to date. So I'm thinking maybe that we didn't need the $36,500, and then the balance of it is paving. So we are budgeting some money here for paving. However, we don't have a paving project identified at this point.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Revenue, phase one.
As everybody knows, council did ask for some projections, estimated for 2022, 23, 24. Trying to look ahead a little bit, see where we were going. I know that there's gonna be some stuff going in with Legacy Park, which is gonna help a little bit, but, all told, the grand total out there at Legacy Park is not quite as much as taxes as what we thought, most people thought it was gonna be. All said and done in 10, 12 years when it's completely built out, we might be looking at about $400,000 or $500,000 in tax increases, but that's about the extent of it. A lot of it's going to have to do with the apartment buildings and when they get those put in. That is the big ticket item out there. That is where most of the assessment will be on that property. The open space, there's not much assessment there for that. The pump station belongs to us, so that's not going to be, or to the authority in this case. So there's no assessment on that. It's gonna be basically the houses and stuff, and we did a rough estimate a couple of years ago on that, as to what it would be when it was built out, and it worked out to about 450, 500 in that neighborhood, at the current tax rate.
Do you have a percentage of how much they're paying now?
Of what they're paying into the account now?
So of the build out of 450, how much is being collected?
At this point in time,
Yeah.
we're probably not even at the most, we're not even at maybe 7 to 8% of what it is. Most of the houses haven't been quite occupied for an entire year yet.
Yeah.
What's our current millage?
3.85 with the, 3.85 with the fire tax added in.
So that's not included in this number though, so the fire tax is a half a mil, if I remember correctly?
Correct.
So we're at 335?
Yep.
Roger, when you calculated for 22, 23, and 24, did you just do a percentage increase, or did you calculate that based on the millage?
No percentage increase, there's no millage increase in there. And you know, if the county does a reassessment, that's gonna throw all those numbers going out the window.
Yeah.
And then whenever they have a reassessment, then we have a whole lot of appeals following it, and in 2 or 3 years.
Well, the assessment would usually be in our favor, though.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
the assessment would
Yes.
increase, but then a lot of times, like, every single unit at Portland Court appealed their new tax assessment last time, so they got an increase, and then they all appealed, and they all won their appeals, they all went back down.
I've done that process.
So, that, but it most likely will be higher than what's here. I would say
Yeah.
these are conservative estimates.
Um, 383, I think, right?
Yeah, 383.
383.
What, total?
No, our tax rate,
Tax
383.
383.
Did I said 385, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
The magic of Google Drive?
We're at 333 for this purpose.
We did reduce, a little bit the cable television because it keeps going down because of streaming services. We keep, both Verizon and Comcast, they're shrinking a little bit almost every quarter. They send us a quarterly check, Verizon and Comcast, for cable franchise.
I saw that our quality of life violations is generating $550 so far this year. I guess it's mostly because COVID's kept us from enforcing all of that stuff.
Well, and the people are at home doing stuff, they're taking care of things.
Taking care of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that we probably have less property maintenance complaints this year than any other year.
Considering everybody's home, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think people have other things to worry about other than their neighbors' high grass. I think this has been an unusual year for that.
So you have $7,600 in interest earnings year to date, but we believe we're going to hit that $20,000 amount next year. On line 341.1, what are your thoughts on 341?
It might be a little bit optimistic, but
Yeah.
Okay.
things could rebound a little bit. dividends are mostly on our insurance premiums, we get money back, and that fluctuates a lot from year to year, so I was a little bit hesitant on budgeting more. Because we just, that 13.9 was like 4 different years, all rolled into one. When they audit, they send dividends based on actuals and what they collected, so that varies a lot from year to year. Some years we get hardly anything. And there's just like, we'll go like a couple of years and then we'll get a larger check, so this year has been a good year for that.
Forgive me, what was the expenditure that the rent of machinery and equipment? Where we budgeted $1,500 and spent $34,000?
Well, that was
No,
revenue.
that's revenue.
Oh, revenue, sorry, yeah.
And that was the sale of something, but I don't remember.
That's still street sweeping.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I knew we sold a piece of equipment, which is unusual. We don't, normally that's just revenue. We probably will not get our 904 in this calendar year because of our gas tank. Because we have a violation at the highway, they're going to hold our check for 904, so we won't get that this year. It'll be released when the violation is abated.
So big jump in the budget for storm sewer labor, jump down actually, 165 to 68.
Yes, because we budgeted last year to pay a full-time MS4 coordinator out of storm sewer, which we could not do because we did not collect fees. So we didn't have that position, and we're not going to be using him full-time this year because we're outsourcing street sweeping, so that reduces the revenue into the general fund because we're not using that employee for that particular service. That employee is picking up leads right now, so that would be a 430 line item highway. So currently his salary is being paid out of the highway budget as of last week until police season is done.
Police services reimbursement.
That is when we bill for special events and also what the county task force gives us for Officer Temple. And Chief said to put 25 in there. We weren't getting that much previously, but the county this past year and the year before has set a check, and that's totally arbitrary based on the monies that they bring in from recouped sales of materials that are collected through their investigation. So we don't control that.
Gotcha.
It's just whatever they give us. Now, we budgeted this year, that's sure will be.
Toyota Prius that's sitting over there.
Yeah.
No, it's still here. They're trying to get it. They're trying to get it forfeited so they can sell it.
So that varies. We're never real sure what we're gonna get. And this year, we did not have special event revenue coming back in because we had no special events. Like normally, we would send officers out for every special event at some point or the other. But we have not been doing that since we haven't been having special events.
Yeah, so the Jubilee Day revenue is at $97.50.
Well, if we have Jubilee Day.
No, I mean, it was budgeted for 20, I mean, it's showing as an actual for 2020, yeah?
Oh, did I miss taking it out?
I wonder if it was in the
I
wrong,
think it's the wrong line
wrong
item.
column perhaps.
It's in the wrong column. That should be 97.5 should be in the, 97.50 should be in the other.
Yeah, it
Right.
should be
2020
over
budget.
there. I'm sorry,
No
it
problem.
should have been both those.
Is that pavilion rentals too, or did we actually rent some of those out?
No, that's
No.
a very
That should be over there,
it's
too.
on the wrong line item. The 25, the numbers under the 20 should be under the 20 budget, and the numbers under the 21 should be in the 21 year-to-date. And then I need to add those, so I'll make that correction.
Thank you. We had that conversation about the crossing guards, but you're showing a reduction in revenue by half in 2021 versus 2020 year-to-date.
Well, they did not work from March 15th till the end of the year.
Right, this is almost, I'm saying, 2021 budget is showing half of their revenue compared to 2020. You'd think that it would be more since they didn't work in 2020.
We'll bill for 2020 and 2021.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we're lacking a year on that? Wow.
Yeah, we bill once the W-2s are created
Oh.
in January, then we bill the school district
Gotcha.
for their services for the
Okay.
prior year.
Gotcha,
So they're always a year behind.
gotcha. Thank you.
So what you're looking at in revenue this year was for
Right.
2019.
Yep.
That's how they've always done it. We could bill them twice a year if that would be preferable, but we've always billed them once a year.
Unless you think it's a good idea, I don't.
Is there any reason we should adjust the building permit number to more closely reflect what it's coming in at, or?
I'll let Roger speak.
Because now we're 2 years in a row where it's come in much higher.
You're right, and the problem with it is trying to speculate on what that's gonna be. We had some big projects come in, the high school, or the Elmwood Elementary, the Broad Street Elementary School, and the Silver Street School in the last couple of years. The numbers that are in there reflect Legacy Park. We know what they're building, and I'm not real shook up about that. You'll see a jump in that number if they start to do the apartment building. So that's gonna be, and they're still not telling us exactly when they're gonna do that. There are 2 projects yet to do, that they don't have building permits for it's actually the school. One is the high school. We've heard different numbers on what that is, so trying to estimate what that is. And then again, if they hit some kind of funding problems, they may not do that project. So to try to budget for it, it's you either hit it high or you hit it low. So we would sooner err on the side of caution and take that comment on the audit, then we would put more in there, and then they'll come back and say, why did you mess this up so bad?
Yeah, because we got 2 comments on being overestimated when they didn't start on time. We had one of the school district projects and the start of Legacy Park budgeted in 2 years ago, and they didn't start on time.
Right.
So it was a finding, because we budgeted all this money for building permits that didn't commit. They usually don't say a lot if you're under budget, but if you really overestimate, they want to know if you're just padding it to make your budget balance. And we've had very bad luck with the building. Every time
We miss it one way or the other. And, that first year, we had it budgeted up pretty high, and
nothing.
Legacy Park didn't start building. So something happened with the state, they couldn't get approvals, and,
Right, remember that.
yep, and that was a finding on the audit.
And they don't say a whole lot if you're close.
Yeah.
But if you're way overestimate something, they tend to raise that up because, you know, they're gonna have to be so far off. We should readjust, based on last week's, we're gonna have to readjust this $15,000 for key cards, because if we eliminate contractors, I estimate that that's $12,000, so that number is gonna have to be adjusted, but we didn't find that out.
I haven't talked to council about that, that's $6,000 for us, $6,000 for
No,
Silver Spring.
we brought in $12,000 this year here for a contract.
This is in regard to the compost
I went through
facility.
it.
All right, compost facility, we had a meeting Friday, to discuss it. I gotta write it up and get it back to council for, approval. We decided, I finally got Silver Springs to agree to at least 1 year to eliminate the contractor using the compost site. The situation we've got at the compost site right now is ridiculous, to the point that I can't see over the pile of grindings with cameras, and it's mounted on the top of the building. So, we're over. Justin Miller from the county, Gary was on that Zoom call too. Justin Miller from the county said you're over by at least 3 times what you're supposed to have on that by your permit. To re-permit it, we're talking massive amounts of money, to get it re-permitted for what we've got. We're supposed to have 3,000 cubic yards per acre, we have 2 acres. He's estimating that we have anywhere between 15,000 to 20,000 cubic yards of material on that site. 3 fires in the last 2 weeks, actually the last 3 weeks now, and a massive pile of grindings that we can't get rid of. We told them, you know, it's the contractors bringing in 4 or 5 trucks at a time. We just can't keep up with it. Now we're putting leaves out there. The site's dangerous. My email to Silver Springs was basically, I can't put my staff and the residents' safety in jeopardy for a service that we're getting nothing out of. It's all expense. So, they did agree to go without the contractors, which is gonna be a cut. But on the other hand, it's, you know, we've gotta do something. This is a no value situation out there.
Purpose of the site was for our residents.
Yeah.
So to that question, why is it not open Sundays?
Because we don't have anybody out there, and they get too far behind Monday. They spend most of the day Monday cleaning up from the weekend, cleaning up the site, because people just go in and dump.
In the conversation we had with them, I would have suggested one cure would be to open it like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays and close it the rest of the time because of the danger that we have there. When the guy from the county said, you know, you keep going at the rate you're going, we won't even permit you.
Yep.
Then what do we do? And the benefit of this was supposed to be for our residents, not for contractors to use as a dumping ground, and that's what's happened.
Right.
You know, we have people from Europe coming up here dumping stuff.
We have a landscape company from New Jersey that bought a pass.
Because they don't have a place to dump it.
Yeah, I don't think I have a problem with that. I've had multiple residents hit me with, if it's supposed to be for us, and we work during the week, we can't use it on, you close at 3 o'clock on Saturdays and you're not open on
I
Saturdays.
think it could be
They're open
open.
till 7 on Saturdays.
Well, that's not what he said to me. I don't know.
They're open till 7 on Saturdays.
I'm thinking several months into 2021,
Yeah.
we see the volume of the stuff go down. We could open on Sundays. We could keep it open every day. But it's not something we can do automatically because we've got to mitigate the problem that we have first.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not going to appease the people who are complaining to you, but it's a possibility, in my mind, that we could do that.
To work too.
I'm glad to see it, because for a while, even when I was involved in those meetings, I would argue for no contractors.
We
We
tried.
had one
And there's always
Commissioner
one
from-
commissioner from Silver Spring who
who doesn't listen.
Yeah.
He just doesn't listen. I mean, he had his
That's
manager and both his managers
That's not wrong.
trying to say to him, look, you don't understand it. And it was like you didn't even talk to a brick. I was actually texting Roger from my phone, like, you know, I won't use somebody's name who recently retired from the borough, but he acted like that, and he's a commissioner. So,
Well, he's, and the site that he was referring to, the one down in Fairview Township, they have a sign right in the door that says they're only open from 9 to 1 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and every third Saturday, or first and third Saturdays of the month from 9 to 2. And, you know, there's nobody else around that's open as long as what we are at the compost site. This is actually when the fire was going out here. This pile here is on fire. This pile here is now ground and set in here, and I can't see over it with the camera, it's that high. This pile up here that was ground up is 5 times larger than this pile that's actually was burning. That was the video I just had up there.
Could we offer that to somebody that would take it?
No, nobody wants it.
nobody wants to.
Not even out of our area.
Ray and I have tried, we've called contractors, we've called everybody, that's why we spread it at the park, we put it around, they took, 25 dump trucks and put it under the pine trees out at the point, to try to get rid of some of this stuff.
I wonder if you could spread a little at the cemetery, maybe.
If you want some.
Well, I have to ask
ask the board, see if they
what
want
do you think, Gary?
That's great.
That would look really nice, landscape the trees and mulch.
I'm talking back in the woods, just right.
Oh,
You know what I mean, just push some of the, trample some of that brush down that goes back. Well, of course, that would attract more kids back there, I imagine.
Yeah, that's actually great, you should do that.
it's a ridiculous situation. This is actually the night the fire started. This is, 5:30 in the morning. That pile of mulch right there is on fire. That was when everybody was smelling campfires all through town.
Yeah.
That's what was burning. That pile is nothing but ash on the inside of it right now.
Too bad we can't, bag this stuff, since it's catching on fire, make it like
Well-
fire starter stuff.
Well, it doesn't catch on fire when it's in small quantities.
We're having trouble, selling what I call the super poop.
Yeah, biosolids.
We can't sell that, nobody wants to buy it.
Yeah.
And that was supposed to be our big moneymaker.
Well, we are selling some.
Yeah, some. To the point where Curtis even said, look, if you get somebody, then we'll load it for them. Then this guy from Silver Spring, who was complaining about us not getting rid of it, says, well, you can't load trucks because you could overload one, if they have an accident, you're gonna have a lawsuit.
They don't have to deliver it.
Really? No. Anyhow,
All right, so there are gonna be some changes at the compost site.
Okay. We have a lot of ground to cover, so thank you
All right.
very much for that.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions on the road? We good?
good.
Okay. All right, moving on to admin.
All right. Wendy, you're up on this one.
Well, the first 3 lines are salary lines, and we use 3% on the salaries and 75 cents on the support staff, but we will be giving you, a salary chart to look at and approve probably at your next meeting. Supplies, we raised a little bit, cost of paper, et cetera, is going up. The postage, we raised up a little bit because, the post office has been raising postage pretty consistently every year now. Communications, which is phones and internet, stayed the same. I raised advertising because we're advertising a lot more committee meetings than we had advertised before. Originally, when we set out with this format, the object, I believe, was for the committees to meet at that first meeting, but now we've been meeting outside that first meeting, so we've been running a little high on ads. Because that's at 2,500, we haven't even done the budget and sunshine ads that we're gonna do here at the end of the year, which are a little more expensive. Printing I left the same, insurance went up a little bit. We did add that cyber insurance, that we split with the police department, in case we would get a cyber attack. The insurance company insures us, against loss for that. Dues and subscriptions are the same. IT support went up a little bit. Our software had a slight jump because of the Microsoft licensing increase. Contracted services, I did raise that because I believe I'm going to be enlisting Hot Frog to do our mailing services, and I got a new price from them on that includes they currently were stuffing and sealing them. I'm just gonna have them also take them to the post office because our bulk mailing post office person is extremely challenging to deal with. And since we don't do mailings only once a quarter, inevitably we get to the post office and we have the wrong form because they changed it from 3 months ago. And this happens at least twice a year, so then somebody has to run back here, get a new form. So since they do mailing on a regular basis, they're going to be doing our mailings in 2021 unless council has an issue with that, simply because we waste so much time running back and forth with the post office to straighten out the paperwork, which seems to be forever changing. I don't know if anyone experiences post office issues at home, but I have got to tell you, we have so many issues with our mail. Sometimes it's really frustrating. They'll be using our bulk mailing permits, and they currently print our envelopes anyway. So it's just a small change to have them take them to the post office. But I think it will be more efficient because we waste a lot of time having the guys come down and haul them over to the post office, and then the form's wrong, and somebody's gonna haul everything back, because you can't leave it there till we get the right form, and
Does that account for the entire $6,000 increase in that line item, contracted services?
Yeah, based on what we got for some of the printing and stuff that they did, that they've done in the past.
I also raised it because we have had a little bit more expense with, Suez. They've raised the price of the meter readings to $300 a quarter. And as part of our agreement, or $300 a month, and as part of our agreement with the authority, we assume the cost of billing, which includes those meter readings. So that's included in that $15,000 a month that they send, and that went up to $300 a month. And we don't have any control of that. We have to buy the meter readings from them.
How long are we under contract with, Third Element?
It's year to year.
Yeah. We usually have a slight increase from them. We've been really lucky. Our service agreement for our accounting software has been pretty consistent. That has not went up.
Have you ever gone out to bid or seen any competitive price quotes?
We did that in 2016, so that was 4 years ago. But what we found is the services vary a lot from company to company. It's really hard to get that apples to apples price quote because what we have with them is pretty much a 2-hour turnaround window for support. Some of the smaller companies won't give us a 2-hour turnaround, and many companies won't support, because we use them for police and borough, and we use the same server, won't provide that 24-hour service that they're willing to provide for the police department. And they have almost all the police departments in the area. See, and I think that's the reason. We talked to one very nice company in Camp Hill, but he had said, well, it would be within a 24-hour period, sometimes that's not a short enough turnaround for upstairs if it's something really, really important.
Sometimes that's not a quick enough turnaround for us downstairs either.
No.
We're in the middle of a building and stuff.
But, it's pretty much, they had the best turnaround time, and the prices were fairly, pretty much in the same ballpark. We weren't gonna save thousands of dollars at that point by making a change. And there's only a few companies that actually do this type of work. It's not like this, Like, we used to be able to get printing quotes from 5 companies, but Hopper bought them all, so now we have That's true, they bought almost all the other companies that we worked with, right? So they're now the only place here locally that we can get printing services. We replace our computers on a schedule, so I have them for our computer replacement and for our copy machinery.
Any questions?
And that is all for admin.
Kyle?
No other comments?
For auditing, it is, a GASB 75 years, so I had to add 5,900 in for Buyer Barber to do the GASB reporting.
Yep.
Our current auditor doesn't do that. I did use the price quote from Trout on the 3-year extension. Although I have been, the authority was going out for auditing services, and I've been getting a really heavy response on the RFPs.
Yeah.
Some of the companies indicating that they would wish that there was a consolidated bid for both because they think they could provide better pricing, but that just may be to get the additional business. But we've been getting a really decent response from that. I think I just sent out the RFP to the 5th person today, and it just was in the paper recently. And the courtesy copy we sent to Trout as a borough auditor. Tax collector, this is the year the tax collector is up for re-election. Currently, our ordinance states that he gets $10 per real estate bill and $1 per capita bill. If there's any changes to be made, it has to be made 90 days before the petitions are in to run for office, because the candidates need to know prior to choosing to run for tax collector what their compensation will be. So that window comes up once every 4 years. This would be that year. Because we've had a few more bills with Legacy Park, we were a little under this year in what we budgeted, so we budgeted a little bit more for next year. We also pay for his mailing and printing costs, so that is under supplies. Refunds, again, we're up because of the fry refund on the borough side as well, but that's not typical. And we base the bonding for the tax collector on the previous bond, and we do not include that in our insurance. That bonding company is selected by the county. They get a bulk rate, and then we are billed for our tax collector through the county. So we don't choose that. This solicitor is based on what we paid Solicitor Point and Billy Zucker, who did the bankruptcies. That was Steve Miner this year. That could go up based on your decision on the solicitor movement.
This could go up.
Pardon?
This is based on what, per hourly rate?
Her rate is $110.
Right.
I'm not sure what Steve's rate is. We only send him bankruptcies, and I didn't have his rate memorized. I believe that the legal rate we're paying now at every Siemens is $255 for.
I was going to say we should think about a range of $200 an hour.
Yeah. She was extremely low compared to other attorneys for her billing. She's not raised her bill since she came with us in 2012, I think.
Right.
we do not have arbitration, so I lowered the arbitration because hopefully the contract will be settled in this year, and we don't have either contract up for negotiation.
And 158 starts at the end of next year.
Don't think that next year.
158 starts at the end of next year, end of 2021.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I didn't budget any extra because I thought they have 2022 yet on the contract.
Double check, because the right to know asked for that today, and I thought it said 2021, I'll look at
I
it
think
again.
it's 2022, so I didn't
All right.
budget.
I think Linda may be right on that.
I'll have to look.
They had a 5-year contract.
Who?
I don't think anybody had.
They had a 3-year contract.
They had a 3-year
They had a 3-year
contract,
contract.
3-year contract?
Yeah.
which started this calendar year.
No, 19.
So we may have a little arbitration cost. Their arbitration
Their
is not
arbitration is
usually
nothing.
that expensive, most of the time it's minimal.
So 21 would be correct then.
So you would go into negotiations at the end of 21 for.
4/22, yeah.
But local 158, the cost is never the same as the police union. It can't go to arbitration, so the worst case scenario is they work without a contract.
Yeah.
Until they come to a solution. And I'm not thinking that.
19 to 23.
Yeah,
So
so they-
December 23, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought. I usually check that when I do this, although I did this a couple weeks ago, but I usually check it.
And we did get a 5-year.
Yeah, I thought.
Yes, we did.
Ah,
Yep, we already get 5 years this time.
So that's administration and professional
Yeah.
services. Did you want to talk about property and building?
Yeah, I can do that. Any questions under what Glenda just went over, other than the ones you already raised? All right. Buildings and plants down to the next one. We're gonna bring back the cleaning service in here. We're not getting the cleaning that we used to get, and now that it's purely highway that's doing it, it's not being done the way it's supposed to. So we're trying to bring back, we'd like to bring the borough cleaning back in. You dropped that out of there.
No, I
So
put the
200.
cleaning as a contracted service.
Oh, you put on contracted services, all right. Operating supplies, this is the paper products, cleaning stuff that we have here at the borough office. Other than the COVID thing, we're running pretty decent on what we've got. It's not like we're running out. We've also changed our suppliers. When Barb orders, she looks between Quill, Sam's Club, and WB Mason to see who has the best prices and who's running a special or something like that. So we order from wherever we can get the best price at. Uniforms, there's nothing going on with uniforms down here. The insurance, this is the typical one. This is another one that we're trying to work on, getting some of this stuff lowered a little bit with improvements and different things here and there. A lot of small stuff that they want us to do. Public utility charges, this is all the water, gas and stuff. The new lights that are back here, when we switched the first floor to LEDs, we've saved some decent money in here. So, next year I wanna look at the police department upstairs, because those lights are on up there 24/7. So, I think we could see a big significant savings there. Stormwater fees, this is one that is a new one on here. This is what our estimated yearly stormwater fees would be based on the ERUs as they were presented. Divide that in 4, and that will be our quarterly payment to the authority.
And we made our first payment today.
Yes, we did.
So you want to put on filing for,
The only thing I'm gonna tell is, there's certain things, who do I give the appeal to? Here, I wanna appeal this,
I actually thought they'd be more than that.
I do too. I was expecting a lot more, but there's a few things that I think that we can look at. One of the things, and this also goes into the authority side, not to take up too much time on this. There's rock outcropping shown in the park and a few other places that are counted as pervious, but they're natural, or impervious, so they're natural, so if I found one PO, I'm gonna make sure it's,
Well, right, I would show you could use
Yeah.
opportunities for credits.
Yep.
We have things.
well, I think that's the north side basin, because the borough put that in, the authority didn't. You know, I think there's some stuff there that, you know, some water cleanliness. I have to pull out Radulski's calculation to figure out what it is, but I think there's some opportunities there for contributing to the authority's MS4 permit, yes.
This does not include those stormwater basins, and it does not include authority
Correct.
properties for sanitary, just like the highway that.
Right, this is just highway, the borough buildings, the park,
The compost section of the
Yes.
pad at the sewer plant, but not the sewer plant.
even though it's on the same lot as the sewer plant, the borough will assume the responsibility for the stormwater fees. Repairs and maintenance, we're crossing our fingers and hoping there's nothing major this year, that needs to be repaired in this building. So that, we did lower that a little bit to try to ease some of this, the burden on this thing. Tax property rentals, this is the property for 102 West Allen Street, the physical therapy place. Contracted services, this is, Ernie, the mosquito spraying, some of the other stuff that we do here, and the exterminator we have come in. Plus, this is the item where the cleaning has been put in here. Election day is in here next Tuesday. The office, the actual administrative offices will be closed. This will be the only part of the building that's open to the public. We'll even lock the door going upstairs to the police department. If anybody wants to go upstairs, they use the phone outside. The day after that, first thing in the morning, we'll have ServPro in here. I think it's ServPro. I forget what the name of the company is, and they will fumigate the entire building with disinfectant. They'll do all the police cars, any of the other cars that are down here, they'll do those. The cars get done for free, so, but it is $750 to do, one floor. So, and they do the elevators, everything, but that makes it nice for, you know, everybody else that's in here, they do everything, so.
And we have arranged for everyone to work from home that way.
Yes, everybody's working from home on election day. Okay, capital construction, we've got nothing on that line item. Improvements, this is the exterior painting at the municipal center. This is columns and a few of the other things out front here that are starting to look a little on the shabby side.
What they just painted the columns?
No.
They were green, now they're brown.
Yeah, but the paint's peeling off of them really bad. So they're, and they're starting to oxidize. I don't know what kind of paint Hassan used to paint them. Yes, the whole time you've been here, they've been brown, so that's 5 years, 7 years.
You're right.
They were green, the green's under it, you can see it, so.
The doors on the building were brown, and I think
Yes.
that's why they painted the.
And there is one door over on the door that goes from, the alleyway here into the 34 side. That door needs completely replaced. The bottom's completely rusted out and it's in bad shape. Masonry composite, that's the door replacement on the 34 side, is in the next side. Item sworn, what do we have, 1,500. We're keeping the last item there the same as what it was. So. Any questions? Nope. Codes, services. All right. That's the bottom, one line on the bottom there. Jeff and I have not really discussed his salary yet, so there's a couple of issues that I've been having. We're still waiting on him to get his certifications, and that was supposed to be 2 years ago. So, him and I are gonna have a discussion about that. I need to know what the status is of that, because we're still paying out a good bit to Third Element, or not, I'm sorry, approved codes, that I'm paying out at this point in time. So, we'll talk about that one. As Glenda said, they put the 3%, placeholders in there just to be on the safe side. Support staff, that is for Michelle, working out the front office. So, and part of Sarah's doing the planning commission. So those are for her to take the minutes and stuff to planning commission meeting. Operating supplies. This is, we've had a discussion. Yeah, we've had a discussion about, since the state archives allows us now to use PDF type 1A for our archives, for our record keeping. It has to be a type 1A though, so it takes a particular scanner to do this. Third Element does this now for Silver Spring Township. So this is part of what the ladies are gonna be working on from at home, trying to narrow down our property files, paper property files we have, to make it so that it's scannable. Third Element's charging, I think, a penny a page, 2 cents a page, to scan the stuff in, name it, and then bring it back to us electronically. So we're gonna add all this stuff, all the paper stuff out there. This would be part of Jeff's portion to the street files.
Yeah, and for 2021, I was only planning on doing those, because that's an aggressive project.
It is an aggressive project, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. The large, plan sheets that we have, I'm not planning on doing those right away. That is a very specific, scanner that does those. But it has to be that PDF 1A, which takes all the fonts and keeps it with it, so that it can be reproduced exactly as it was originally intended, so. But that means then we can get rid of a lot of paper, potentially create more space out here, for another office if we need one, so, okay?
And they have to be, those, building permits and zoning permits have to be kept indefinitely.
Yeah.
They don't have an expiration, so they were where we decided to start with the scanning.
Yep. Vehicle fuel, the cost of gas in that, he's actually, that little Ford Escape is doing really well as far as fuel economy goes. It very seldom leaves the borough anymore. This is Jeff has a hotspot now in the codes car. Basically, it's set up similar to the police department. He can log into our software system here, pull up property files, do what he needs to do out there. One of the other reasons to get everything scanned in is because he can be up to date out in the field. He has a hotspot in his car, his cell phone, and the 2 desk phones are out front. Transportation, he's asking for $500 here. The car is gonna need tires soon, so, we're probably gonna put new tires on it next year. This is the one here that I wish wasn't as high as what it is. The $15,000 we're paying out to Approved Code Services, I wish that was lower. I think it's gonna be higher mainly because of the school district project, the high school. Jeff, even if Jeff doesn't get all his certs, he wouldn't be able to do the commercial inspections or the commercial review of that plan,
But we
so.
do build the commercial.
Yes, we do build the commercials out, so part of the is gonna be a package.
Residential, that would help us
Right.
immensely.
This is the insurance, the next line item, 413,350. That is what is required for him to carry his insurance on it. Memberships and trainings, he's got it a little bit less than last year. Contracted services software, this is a little bit higher than last year, based on some updates, plus he was.
Microsoft Office went up.
Yeah, and his Microsoft Office has gone up for that too. UCC fees, this is a pass-through. This is the fee we pay out to the state for each permit. It's $5 a permit now, is what it is. $5.50 a permit. So, any questions under the codes and zoning, or the codes?
Those certificates you're talking about that he needs to get?
Yes.
Is that covered under his membership and training thing?
No.
Budget? Or is that out of his own pocket?
No, that, he'll be reimbursed for that, but that's, part of it is coming out of memberships and training, yes.
But it's the moving
But
so
he's also-
slowly, I reduced it.
She's right. This is also for his ICC membership, because he's ICC certified, so am I, but, that's just his certifications for, or his, membership for the International Code Council. He's also one of the board members of PennBach, which is the building officials, council of Pennsylvania, so that's part of his membership on that too. Okay? Is that what you needed, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, under zoning, the next line item. This is the zoning hearing board solicitor. We do not meet that often with the zoning hearing board, only as needed, so this is kind of just a placeholder in there. Last year we did have 2 zoning hearing board meetings in here. One was on a fence, the other one was on a change of use on a property downtown. Advertising, this is the same thing that goes along with that. I don't know if there's gonna be any legacy park coming through, but those help a lot on this line item as far as the costs go. Ordinance review and revision, this will finish up the code review that we've got going on. We just got an invoice from them this morning for another phase of that code review. Hard training and education, this is a line item here that they haven't touched. They started this year, but this is for the awards, the price that you see in there. They're not taking their training, as the ordinance requires. So, we lowered that down to $750.
Hey, Roger.
Yes, sir.
On the 22, 23, 24, those are not based on, they're not planning for future comprehensive plan.
No, I didn't put that in there because I'm waiting to get some kind of numbers as to what those prices could be. This is based on basically what we found doing research, a 2%, 2.1% inflation rate for the next 10 years, because nobody's doing any kind of long-term estimating on this stuff.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if we're not, like, we typically don't plan $50,000 per year for a comprehensive plan,
Right.
so.
Well, I put $50,000 in this year's budget because I'm not sure if we're gonna be done paying general code.
Right.
And we did agree to pay, EPD to start looking at the comprehensive plan.
Right.
And then I would assume that we'll work on it in pieces like we did last time, but if not, it can be budgeted as a capital expense. But we're not gonna know that till we get, estimate from them on what's needed for the update.
Right now, it's the 5,500 was just the preliminary, the phase 1 of that comprehensive plan update. Okay? Emergency management salary, this is Nate's. I did bump him up another $500 this year. I know it's a 10% increase, but I'm gonna be honest with you, Nate was very, very instrumental in this COVID thing. For me, for the solicitor, for Mike Miller, and I know Gary and Kyle, you guys were on phone conversations at the beginning of this thing. Nate really kept us informed, kept us going, told us where to look for stuff, where to get stuff. He really did a pretty good job on this whole thing, plus maintained his job at the state. Like I said, that was the first I saw him in 6 months, here the other night at the council meeting. Okay? The expenses for the insurance, this is an adjustment here. You see it's a 1,900% increase. We moved some things around as to where we were going to pay for them out of. One of them was the Code Red emergency system. That's what we use to communicate with the residents. If there's a dire emergency, we got to get out to them. This is the one that rings your phone, sends you text messages and emails. We put that under his budget line item this year.
And we also added that, software disaster recovery planning module that Matt had told us about for recovering our data should there be an emergency. It's a different kind of backup and reloading plan for our server. to make it more efficient in the event of a problem here at the building, that we would be able to access the data off-site and get back up working more efficiently.
So you're backing up to the cloud?
It's a more secure situation than the cloud, plus it also allows, like, Glenn and I access to it from home if we have to.
And it would also include them having a protocol for emergency, so.
Yep.
This year has made us very emergency oriented.
Extremely.
In a way that we never were before, but.
Erica?
I just watched the piece by 10. So, I'm sorry.
Pieces were hurtling everywhere.
They shot at the stuff and bounced off of it.
We're sure for the.
Yeah, see if I can find this piece of pen.
No, I'll check later.
Well, they,
I'm gonna turn it over to Glenda next for the compost site.
in this area, it's all,
We have been using, two employees from sewer up at the compost site. We did not hire somebody full-time as we anticipated during last year. So this represents a portion of those two people's salary who do the majority of the work out on the site, because that would be a general fund, not a authority expense. We budgeted for fuel, same as last year. Equipment rental, it was only $11,000, and we're anticipating our hours to go down with the reduction in materials from eliminating contractors, so I lowered that down to 13. We put a little bit in there for training, should any be needed. I didn't budget anything for recycling education, because we did not use the $5,000 this year, and the EAC was gonna ask you to move that to capital for the electronics recycling next year. They have a tentative date, and if COVID isn't a problem in the spring, we will be having that again, and I think that was well received. If you don't wanna pay for it out of capital, it can be put back in here. Either way, they just would like to again have that event. And we got a lot of good feedback from our residents on the prior events. We had to find a new vendor. The vendor that we did use, EN, is no longer doing visits, but we found a new vendor, and we're on their schedule for next year. Equipment and repairs at the compost site, I bumped that up because clearly we had a lot more repairs this year and issues than we have had other years. And I lowered the EAC because they're hoping to have the natural playground done by the end of the year. So they're budgeting just some additional monies to maybe spruce up a little bit there and do some community outreach, and education. Refuse contract, of course, is up because, the cost went up. Did you wanna move on to public works?
Anybody have any questions so far? Sure we're good?
Do you want?
Okay.
Do you want?
I'm good. I had a break, I got up.
Okay.
Under the public works, this is Curtis's salary, the first line item there. Again, 3% hold, on that. This is the DEP operators, salary for the DEP operators. Most of those are under contract, and those are actual numbers, the same way with the public works maintenance, on the sewer side. Now, the prices that you see here, these are all reimbursed directly from the sort of the municipal authorities, coffers. Salary for the superintendent, these are estimates. We come up with a price range of what we want to look at for this position. The one price I got in was higher than what Craig was making when he left, so we're going to be a little judicious on who we hire for this position, because there's certain changes that we want to make, and we want to make sure that they're able to be carried out. Public works salaries and wages, again, contract obligated there. These are not reimbursable for the most part through the authority, unless they do something at the sewer plant. This is strictly tax or general fund. Operating supplies, this could go down or up a little bit. There's some things up there at the plant that I think, or at the highway garage that needs to be looked at. Vehicle fuel, gasoline and diesel fuel, both of those are based on actual what we use. We're gonna switch over completely to that Wex card to allow them to get fuel at Rudders, at CoStar's prices. So we should be in pretty decent shape there with those numbers. Small tools and equipment, we dropped this a little bit. They've been buying a lot of stuff back and forth, using up the entire line item that we put in there, except for last year, but there's gonna be some things that they're gonna need. Communications, this is for the phone, the internet, and the land phone at the highway garage. Transportation repairs, I have no new vehicles in here, but this has some repair stuff, figured in for this. We just got a truck, a new 550 with a plow, a spreader, and an aluminum bed last year for them. That should not need any repairs done to it. Insurance, this is actually the insurance and stuff for the building and everything out there. Again, uniforms, contract obligated. Training, this is particularly for one of the gentlemen that has the pesticide license and stuff like that, or any kind of traffic training we send them to, instead of having flagger force come out, there's some training we can send them to learn how to flag. Machinery proposed and rented, this is for the roller they use when they're doing the new paving on the patches and stuff like that. That roller seems to work pretty well and it holds in pretty good. Snow removal, this one's gonna be interesting. With only 3 guys at the highway, well actually 4, the 4th one come back today. With only 4 guys at the sewer plant, or the highway garage, I'm really hoping we don't get massive snow. Because this line item could get blown out of the water, particularly if Glenn and I have to drive a snowplow truck too. So, operating supplies, sidewalk salt, this is the stuff that we use here around the borough office. Signs, this is for repairs and stuff like that we don't get the insurance money back from to reimburse us. Public light. Public utility service, this is the signal lights, this is the bill for the electricity for the signal lights. Signal light repair and maintenance, this is the one that we try and get reimbursed as much as possible, but you see, we were well over this year. We had a couple that happened and nobody caught who it was, so we had to repair those. Plus, I think this has some of the signalization.
No, the next line has.
The next line has a signal, okay, that's the green light go. There's some grant money involved there. This is one that has to be finished by the end of the year.
By the end of the week.
The end of this week? Okay.
That was my.
That's right, this is the last week in October.
Yeah.
All right. The next one down is the streetlights. This is the one we moved over to, the liquid fuels for the streetlights. Sinkhole repair, this is one that, was actually moved out to the MS4 and the authority under their emergency services contract. Storm water system salary, this is when the guys go out and help out with doing anything else as far as cleaning inlets and stuff like that, particularly with the backhoe. Maintenance and bridge repairs, $25,000, we're keeping that the same. Construction and rebuilding, nothing. I will preface this whole entire section of the budget on what may happen tomorrow night, with the fire company. The public outreach, or the property parts and maintenance, and, Scott, public works and safety meeting is tomorrow night. If the council decides to move the building, to give them that land or sell them the land that the highway department sits on, this budget right here in particular, could be changed very drastically. Depends on where we go with it, what we do with it, how much stuff we're gonna get rid of. I would like to see us do a study to determine where the best place is to put the highway garage if council decides to go along with the fire company's proposal. That's if. This is the same thing when we get to the pool budget, there's a lot of ifs involved in that one too. So, this is something that I think we need to keep in mind. There's a lot of balls up in the air in this whole borough situation right now. The fire company moving on this, the COVID thing, not knowing what it's gonna do. There's a lot of stuff that's involved in this that I think we need to keep in mind. We need to be flexible enough to handle it and adaptive enough to make changes when we need to. So, any questions on the highway section of this?
Did you anticipate the committee making a recommendation tomorrow?
No, but this is stuff that we've all, I mean, I don't wanna be sitting in a council meeting and you guys say, did you consider this? Because yes, we considered, there's a lot of stuff we considered in here, and we concentrated on what we put in here compared to, I'm gonna be honest with you, with some of the projections and stuff like that you asked for, but to try to know what's coming down the road and see what the stuff is that's being bounced around and which way you guys decide to go seems to be more important than some of the projections at this point in time.
I had a question with the public works salaries.
Okay.
I noticed that, we're pretty, like you said, it says you're budgeting for 2 new employees and one to replace one that retired and one that resigned. When considering that, did you like adjusted the wages accordingly to replace those two?
The one that retired was making considerably more. He was making almost as much as a new employee.
Well, his was on the top line on the 2020 budget. That was what he was making. All right, the top line there, salary superintendent.
Oh, no, I was talking about the.
The one that was down below, well, yeah.
He was here over 30 years,
Oh, wow.
so he had worked up to a higher salary, so we're not going to be spending a whole lot more to bring 2 people on than what it costs for his one salary.
Gotcha.
Because we had one person retire, and then we had a person budgeted in the park that left. We tried to replace them under the highway budget because we moved parks.
With the last spate of retirements, we could probably hire 5 people at starting weight and not hit those numbers.
So for this number in the 2021 budget, it's 2 employees to replace 2 employees.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
But the one employee was very high on the pay scale, the other one wasn't actually.
Right.
okay.
But the one employee was budgeted partially under parks, which we're just gonna budget for 2 part-time people in the summertime in the park, like we did.
When we get to the park side of that, you'll see that.
And then we're going to, except there's a typo, it says full-time to part-time people in the park, but, we thought that we're gonna have the highway doing more work in the park again and move away from a separate parks department, so.
Yep. You wanna keep going? Yep. All right. On the parks.
That is 2 part-time people, not 2 full-time people.
Yeah, there's a typo in there we missed. Half the salary of 2 part-time employees working in the park 6 months per year. So,
And that should be all of us,
Yeah.
salary for 2 part-time people.
the next one is clerical. This is where we do the rentals in the borough, in the office here. Usually it's Sarah that takes care of a lot of that stuff, even though that has her maiden name in there yet.
No, tomorrow.
No, it's not, it's Martin, sorry. Supplies for the park, this is the bathroom, the toilet paper, the paper towels, although we've cut down on the paper towels, we put the air hand dryers in, that seems to work a little better. Gasoline, this is for small tools, chainsaws, weed eaters, stuff like that. Everything at the park now runs diesel, I think except for the tractor, the Ford tractor that you use, Scott. I think that's the only one that runs gas anymore. everything else is diesel, is that diesel? That's diesel, all right.
Yeah.
So it's just the hand tools. Small tools and equipment, you see they spent a good bit last year. They bought some hand tools that seem to have disappeared from the park garage. Not sure exactly where they went, but we have some ideas. Transportation, vehicle repair. There's 2 trucks in the park right now. The one is actually gonna be coming down here this winter to plow snow. The other one is the old beat-up truck, the one they're using to collect trash. We're not sure what that's gonna be, how much longer that one's gonna last. Utilities, we didn't open a pool this year, so our expenses were down. I'd like to keep that about the same as what it was last year, or what was budgeted for last year. Training and miscellaneous expenses, without having any full-time people in the park, we pulled this back down to $100. Repairs and maintenance, we'd like to keep this the same. There is some masonry work that needs done on the concrete stuff up there that I think we're gonna have to contract out to get that stuff done. Contracted services, the Porta Johns and the mowing, this is the one that, even though it's a very high number here, this is also a cost savings to us because it's keeping our salaries down of park fleet people. Equipment replacement, we're not doing anything with equipment replacement so far this year. Contribution to the rec department, this is the 24,750. This is part of the joint rec agreement, even though it's not signed, you passed it, we just haven't signed it yet. So, payment for the playground supervisors, this is another program that's run by the school district that we pay for the supervisors, the counselors at the summer day camp that they have out at the Kosher Park. Improvements, in this year it was gonna be used for or 2020, this was the roof project. We're gonna take some of the small parts of the trees out of this line item too, so, but we're asking for $10,000 again this year.
Questions? No? Okay.
All right.
The full salaries represented here in the general fund budget are here because we pay those employees, they're employees of the borough, and then we bill the pool fund for them. So they're shown here as an expense because they come out of our general fund first and then they get reimbursed.
When we get into the pool budget, the enterprise fund for the pool budget, I'll explain that a little bit more. That was a finding on the audit.
Because we haven't displayed the salaries on those sheets, so technically the borough is the employer, so we have to show the salary line item.
Right.
Rather than.
Okay, community contributions. John, if you wanna get through this whole thing, let me know. If not, I mean, if you wanna take a break.
Well, there's stuff.
Okay. This next one, you know,
How do we make this easy? Let's take everything down to what we did last year. That's it.
when we take it all in here, we can do that. I mean, that.
Yeah, I don't think there were too many increases. The library asked for an additional 500.
What was the movement on due up there? Did you change that up?
We reduced the senior center because we didn't think, we did an air conditioner last year. We don't,
Yeah.
things seem to always break. I don't think that there was.
The senior center has $15,000 on it, whereas 2 years ago it was $2,500.
Yeah, that was building maintenance.
Do you think we could go a little lower than that? Do you know of anything
115?
that they're gonna have done down there?
The only thing, well, it would be site, it would be some of the trees that are in that basin back there, that sinkhole, need to be cut out so we don't end up with another one through the roof of the building. So there were actually two things last year. There was the roof of the building for one, and the air conditioning was replaced.
I mean, we could lower that if you don't think they're gonna need that whole 15 this year for repairs and maintenance.
We can come down to,
So that should So you're saying senior citizen center building maintenance should stay at 15 or be lower than 15?
We could probably drop it to 10, take 5,000 out of that.
The library asked for 85, last year was 80.
Yep.
The shade tree, that's for the commission, correct? Or is that for something else?
The New Hope is a type
Yes,
that
it is
should be
true.
1,000.
Where's the Wildcat Foundation's contribution reflected in next year's budget?
It's not. That was a one-time,
Well, where would that, where was that?
we took that out of capital.
I'll make my annual pitch that I don't think that the government should do many of these contributions. But that's just my personal opinion. We're not a charitable organization, this is the Borough of Mechanicsburg.
I concur.
But, you know, historically, that has not gone over very well, so.
Agreed, okay.
Well, it's kind of like, some of our citizens' tax money is going back into viable things in the community, and I think
Well,
serves as a good community outreach.
and my argument is that if people want to do that, they have more money to do that out of their own.
I understand, but I think that's
We did drop the neighborhood dispute and, last year and the singer band. We dropped those the last couple of years.
We never get the Jubilee Day.
Right.
In fact, we always ask, but Glendon knows better to put it in the.
Actually, I didn't get anything from Jeff this year,
Jeff didn't
so
send
I
anything.
just put in,
He's still in shock from not having Jubilee Day this year.
I just put in what they had last year.
So shade tree, we didn't give any to last year, but we're talking about $1,000 this year.
They requested that. Didn't they?
Well, I thought that we had
They
a
requested every
I thought that we had an item in the budget for that,
For shade tree.
in the general fund.
yeah.
This is for their projects and stuff that they do, for the trees and stuff. The planning commission and everybody else could do the same thing. They could ask for a request for this. But because shade tree is semi-autonomous, all right, they are not
They
necessarily.
don't usually use it, but they always ask.
Yeah, I think the last 2 years, they've, committed part of it to the natural playground, if I'm correct.
They did a couple times, they
Yeah,
donated money for trees with that.
Well, like, something like that should be, I don't know.
It's, the
Typically,
reason it's here is it falls numerically in that section, and that's on the state GL code. It's a 455, so I put everything, I moved the 412 and the 441 down here, and then put everything in there sequentially.
Well, if you're knocking the $5,000 off the senior citizen, we probably could do that.
2,000 for the shade tree. It's beautiful shade tree. So to Kyle's point, do you want to go with what everybody else had the prior year?
Well, I have Rodney over here, that's also, he always bumps down, economic development, DMP, he always asks for $1,000 more, we always bump them down $1,000 and we get the same amount.
So you just want to do the same thing for
So let's-
I would concur, let's keep it the same
Let's
amount.
make the DMP at that 9,000, let's make the New Year's Eve ranch drop 1,400.
I think the library should get the extra $500.
Of course you do.
That's just like a community center there. I don't think we should cheat. I mean, I
How
think.
about Meals on Wheels, should
Also,
be $2,000
to be fair, we also give another contribution to the library, which is the
sewer
sewer
revenue.
So if you put that on top, we always, the reason we bumped it up to $8,000 a while ago was because we took a look at what the sewer refuse bill was, the contribution, and then we essentially gave them cash to match what our population.
Yeah.
the per population, because we were trying to give the same amount other municipalities
Yeah.
give on a per population basis. So, that's why.
The 8,500 instead of 8,000 would help to offset their amount for stormwater that they're gonna pay, because I think their libraries is pretty high.
Yeah, they are up there. I don't recall what it is off the top of my head.
Well, they don't have much impervious ground there.
No, they don't.
1,400 for you,
Should we give the mayor the?
The only one we did not get a request yet from Rebecca, but we almost have to pay whatever the county asked, or they want.
I think I see that as more of a,
That's a
less
fine.
of a contribution and more of a buy-in to an
Yeah.
agreement.
So I mean, we got whatever hers comes in at, it could be, last year it went up like $500, and I think that's based on her salary divided by
The municipality
a
piece.
percentage of the number of communities that are gonna be using her services, so that could be more or less than the 9,000, just
So,
we haven't gotten.
With the exception of the senior center, the library, and Rebecca's, so the Cumberland County Downtown Coordinator, you guys, your suggestion is to just use the 2020 year-to-dates?
Correct, that was.
Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
And let's just keep the library at 85.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, keeping it, okay.
Add bumping it up, yeah.
Bumping it.
Well, yeah, that's, yeah.
Keeping the request, yeah.
Well, and I think back to the shade tree convention, if you go by their year to date, they haven't been meeting for how many months?
Yeah, they also haven't been using they haven't been using any money out of that either.
Yeah,
So they would get 1,000.
Okay.
And if they've already done tree giveaways, like at Earth Day or something like that, so there's the potential that they could do some education and outreach. I just don't know what they have planned for next year.
Okay.
The debt service is actual, we actually have a schedule.
I would, if I was organizing, this where the shade tree would be, it would be recycling and environmental.
I can move it there,
Like
because
environmental advisory council.
I can put it in there, it just doesn't match up sequentially, but I can move it. I can move it over.
Okay.
It's gone already.
Well, it just makes more, just makes more sense to me, it's not community contribution.
I'll put it over
Yeah,
there.
good point.
The debt service is actual without the lead of 24, that's what we have. That's the one thing we have.
Which one do you want to stick around?
The whole rest of the meeting, I've had enough. I don't know if I'm leaving.
Hey, you know how many 6-hour Saturdays we've had with this?
Oh, hey.
I am not coming to that.
I'm cutting out. You guys will stay.
Yeah, we're going to the next meeting.
Thanks for coming, though.
People, real, seriously.
Yeah, we should be discussing. What's on the agenda for the next meeting if we power through this?
Nothing.
Hey, Dr. Johnson,
Oh, yeah.
Other than the employee salaries and stuff, that's the only thing that's left. If you go through this and you make a recommendation based on what we've got with the changes, there's not a whole lot.
Why don't we keep the core budget and the capital
Yeah.
budget?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because you're almost to the end of the general fund.
And to be honest with you, the employee liabilities,
I'm fine with that.
give us a little bit of time on that, because if we do have to get insurance numbers in, we can actually give you real numbers.
Yeah.
We get it.
So right now, these are estimates.
Well, the debt service, the debt interest
We can
are
do that.
actuals, and the MMO is an actual because we
Right.
have that. And the FICA is based
Well,
on some of the
let's
salaries.
keep the employee liabilities, we can go through, you guys all know what the debt service is, we did that exercise not too long ago, so.
Yeah.
This is actually based on the numbers we received, from, Chase.
And we got our first bill from Chase.
Yes, we did.
Great.
So. And the hospitalization is not not based on actual, we don't have actual figures.
Right.
Except any other business.
You know, I'll cover it. All right, so, we're gonna pause there and come back at the next meeting to talk about